Hey there, silly geese, quackers. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Instead of our usual take breakdown, we're going to look at a Tumblr post and consider what it says about us and the stories. And this is the Tumblr post I'm talking about. Oh, spoiler alert for The Hunger Games and Sunrise on the Reaping. When Sunrise on the Reaping came out in March, the fandom almost immediately began joking about how open Haymitch is. We saw memes about how Haymitch was giving us walls of information where Katniss would barely say anything. Let's take a look. Comparing Haymitch and Katniss's narrative styles is so funny to me because he's a yapper and she's a gatekeeper. He drops more lore on District 12 in the first two chapters of Sunrise on the Reaping than she does in the entire trilogy. Haymitch is like, yeah, so this person is related to this person who's related to this person, and things are this way because of this, and this thing actually came from here, and this person is actually my best friend, and also here's this extra tidbit of random info, because all my lore dropping comes with its own additional bonus content and all my unnecessary commentary. And Katniss is over here like, the fuck do I care if y'all know all the lore from District 12? I'm talking about my beautiful husband's beautiful eyelashes. Let's be real, it is funny. But I want to spend this video suggesting that the difference between Katniss and Haymitch's narrations is actually trauma wiring. Recently we did a video on how Katniss is probably neurodivergent. Specifically, she seems to have CPTSD. Complex PTSD. Today we're going to look at how the differences between Katniss and Haymitch's narration actually may confirm that. Let's get started. Katniss and Haymitch before their games. Their situations. Before their games, Katniss and Haymitch actually live quite similar lives. They are each from the Seam. They have fathers who die in mine explosions. They live with their mothers and their younger sibling, and in one way or another, they step up to fill the role of the father that they lost. But a crucial difference here is how their mothers react to that loss. As we know, Katniss's mom becomes despondent. She didn't do anything but sit propped up in a chair, or more often, huddled under the blankets on her bed, eyes fixed on some point in the distance. I was terrified. All I knew was that I had not only lost a father, but a mother as well. At 11 years old, I took over as head of the family. And Haymitch's mom gets to work. Widowed young when my pa died in a coal mine fire, she raised Sid and me by taking in laundry and making every bit of anything count. While Willa May does put Haymitch to work, he doesn't seem to be neglected. As far as we can tell, Haymitch never feels that his mother abandoned him, in direct opposition to Katniss's relationship with her mom. Their relationships. Then, if you look at how they describe their relationships, the contrast between them becomes pretty clear. Let's start with Haymitch. At the beginning of Sunrise at the Reaping, Haymitch is in love with Lenore Dove. He explains that the first time they met, that started my head spinning, and I guess it never quite stopped. And he describes their relationship as serious. Haymitch also has really close friends in Burdock and Blair. He also has very close relationships with his mom and little brother Sid. He even recognizes his relationship with his community, expressing genuine affection for Hattie. Hattie yelps as I impulsively give her a hug. Oh, enough of that. You still sparking that covey, girl? I'm trying, I say, laughing. Go bother her then. You're of no more use to me today. Can you imagine Katniss doing anything like that? No, of course not. Katniss's relationships are pretty different. Yeah, she's close to Prim, and she has her best friend, Gale, but her relationship with Gale is nearly transactional, right? It's built on mutual need. She's pretty explicit about that. We grudgingly began to share our knowledge, our weapons, our secret places. Then one day, without either of us saying it, we became a team, dividing the work and the spoils, making sure that both our families had food. Gale gave me a sense of security I'd lacked since my father's death. It's not that Katniss had no other friends, she just didn't realize that they were friendships until she was headed off to the capital. Listen how she describes Madge. Since neither of us has a group of friends, we seem to end up together at school a lot, eating lunch, sitting next to each other at assemblies, partnering for sports activities. She doesn't even realize that Madge is her friend until Madge gives her the Mockingjay pin. before they head onto the train. Personality defense. I'm sure most people will chalk this up to personality differences between the two characters, but we catch glimpses of who Katniss was before she lost her father and was practically abandoned by her mother. Let's look at how Peeta describes her as a little girl. The teacher asked who knew the Valley song. Your hand shot right up in the air. You stood up on a stool and you sang it for us. That doesn't really sound like the detached Katniss we all know and love. She seems to have been a much more confident kid back then. If this version of her had shown up to the interview prep session with Haymitch, I don't think they would have had nearly as hard a time figuring out what kind of person she should be in front of the Capitol audience. What do you think? We learn in Katniss's conversation with Rue that she doesn't think a lot of music at the point of the 74th games. In our world, I rank music somewhere between hair ribbons and rainbows in terms of usefulness. But based on everything we hear, it seems like Katniss loved music before her father died. And she returns to that love as a coping mechanism when she's facing an uncertain future after she assassinates Coin. I begin to sing at the window, in the shower, in my sleep, hour after hour of ballads, love songs, mountain airs, all the songs my father taught me before he died, for certainly there has been very little music in my life since. What's amazing is how clearly I remember them, the tunes, the lyrics. At least to me, this suggests that the muted Katniss that we see in the original trilogy isn't really Katniss's default. She even acknowledges how growing up she learned to mask her feelings and thoughts. When I was younger, I scared my mother to death the things I would blurt out about District 12, about the people who rule our country, Panem, from the far-off city called the capital. Eventually I understood this would only lead us to trouble. So I learned to hold my tongue and turn my features into an indifferent mask so that no one could ever read my thoughts. Even at home, where I am less pleasant, I avoid discussing tricky topics. Of course, it's clear that she does this for her safety and the safety of her family, but it also reinforces the ideas that her thoughts and feelings are a liability. They're dangerous. How does this line up with trauma? So what are we really looking at here? Katniss isn't cold, she's not unfeeling, she's a child who was emotionally starved and forced to become a parent before she finished being a kid. And the result? A communication style shaped by complex trauma. As we've said before, it's possible, if not likely, that Katniss has CPTSD. This kind of PTSD doesn't develop from a single terrifying event, but from a prolonged, inescapable threat. Especially in childhood, especially when a caregiver disappears, or in this case, two caregivers. Katniss hits that checklist pretty hard. Emotional numbing, flat affect. Why Katniss sounds like a gatekeeper. Katniss doesn't describe how she feels most of the time. She narrates what she needs to do to survive. I give myself a series of commands to follow, like, now you have to sit up, Katniss. Now you have to drink water, Katniss. She reports danger. She calculates risk, she rarely expresses joy, and when she does, she qualifies it like it might be a mistake. Well, I knew that goat would be a little gold mine, I say. Yes, of course, I was referring to that. Not the lasting joy you gave the sister you loved so much you took her place in the reaping, says Peeta dryly. Her voice isn't detached because she's stoic, it's detached because she's protecting herself from feeling anything that might break her open. Preemptive silence, self-censorship. We know that Katniss used to speak her mind, until she saw how concerned her mother was. She, like many of the people of District 12 and Panem as a whole, learned that their feelings are dangerous, that their voice is a liability. While this is a common thing in their world, it doesn't really change the fact that it may contribute to why she expresses herself the way she does. Fragmented identity and dissociation. After her father's death and her mother's abandonment, Katniss buries parts of herself that felt alive. Her singing, openness, and hope. She practically forgets her love for music until the end of Mockingjay, where it all comes back in a flood of memory. And that's often how trauma works. It doesn't just block emotion, it sort of partitions identity. So that part of you that experienced the terrible thing is locked behind some other part of you to keep you safe. So the Katniss that we see in the original trilogy didn't just forget her childhood voice, she literally lost access to it so that she could do the things she needed to keep her and her family alive. Functional care as emotional language. Katniss isn't known for her social skills, but she does have bonds with people that are pretty intense, often rooted in responsibility. She feeds her family, she protects Rue, she risks everything for Peeta, not because she trusts easily, but because caregiving is the only safe way she knows how to show love. And her relationships aren't transactional exactly, they're task-based. If you take a look at the relationships that she builds throughout the story, you'll find that if she can't help someone, she's not sure she's worth their time. And that's not emotional detachment. That's a trauma-shaped definition of relational value. If I'm useful, I'm safe. All of this. Her flat narration style, her emotional masking, even her avoidance of vulnerability, that's not trauma adjacent. That is trauma. And we know this because Collins gives us a character that starts with everything that Katniss lost and shows us what it looks like as it gets taken away. After everything that happens in Sunrise on the Reaping, we get this line from Haymitch. Even in my head, the language becomes dull and flat, stripped of the color and music of yesterday. This isn't just Suzanne Collins showing us trauma. It's her giving us a reverse blueprint of what Katniss might have been like, what she might have sounded like, if she had felt safe even before her first games. Conclusion. It seems that the fandom largely attributes these differences to personality, and I get that. But I think that choosing to interpret the differences between these narration styles as two characters being at different places in their journey and in their trauma actually unlocks the true craft of Suzanne Collins' work. It means that Katniss was never just bad at communicating. She was actually telling us everything. We just didn't know how to listen.